data I could find, in 2021 to 2022, 23% of adults in America experienced mental illness in the last in that year. And that's the same as 60 million people. And over 5% of the US adult population, or over 12 million people, reported serious experiencing serious thoughts of suicide. And so this whole
Wow.
independence is creating depression, increased likelihood of suicide rates, and it's a false message. And it's all interwoven with this broader problem of capitalism that is the current global dominating paradigm.
Hello, Sobat Kokamuhi. Welcome back to our podcast where we explore the idea that connect people, community, and planet. And I'm Nikita, your host who will guide you in this conversation. So, in today's episode, we will dive into a fascinating conversation about belonging, community, and environment and sustainability. Have you ever heard or have you ever wondered why feeling connected to a community makes us care more about people, about nature, or about planet? How does a sense of belonging shape our action? And what we can do to strengthen that connection? Well, today we have an incredible guest with us to unpack this idea. So, in today's episode, joining with us, Miss Roslynn McCann. So, she is a professor and sustainable community extension specialist at Utah State University. And Miss Roslyn has spent years researching environmental behavior and community engagement, applying behavioral theories to inspire real change. So, without a further ado, let's welcome Miss Roslyn. Hello, Miss Roslyn.
Hi, everyone. Glad to be here.
Yeah, and we are so excited to have you, and it's always been my pleasure to have a discussion with you.
Thank you. Yeah, it's fun to talk about this stuff. It's super important too, and especially as we're experiencing such an accelerating rate of climate change caused by our human activity. So the more we can do to create a sense of belonging in place and build that passion to protect our environment, the better.
Mhm. Yeah, and let's start with the core idea of belonging. So, Miss Roslyn, from your perspective, what does sense of belonging means to you, and why do you think it's so important not just for individual but also for entire communities?
Yeah, thanks for the question. Belonging to me is groundedness in place. And what I mean by that is that we feel like we are a part of the land that we live on, a part of the broader environment around us, and a part of the community. And so many of us feel isolated right now, and this intentional growing of community and groundedness in place is really important for creating this passion to take action to improve our environment and to help uplift others around us. And of course, it's a win-win, right? Because we feel better about ourselves as human beings as we do that. So it is extremely important and something that we could be doing a much better job on, not only individually, but through our systems levels as well. So our governmental systems and our employment systems, so whatever organizations we work for, can intentionally build a better sense of belonging by creating a stronger community among the people that interact with that system. And so it's just an extremely important concept that could use a lot of attention, especially in today's day and age.
Yeah, I love that you say about when people feel connected, they tend to be act. And you mentioned that the sense of belonging leads to care and leads to action. And I love that concept. And how does a strong sense of belonging make people more aware of their responsibility towards other and environment?
Yeah, it's an accountability. So, uh, one thing that research shows is that we we as human beings like to be consistent with our behaviors. So uh, if we know others around us care about us and have a certain understanding of our value systems, they're more likely to create a sense of responsibility in us to pursue that path towards uplifting community. And that happens through check-ins, through this concept of social norms. So social norms meaning that we are herd animals as human beings, right? So we don't like to admit it, but we're very influenced by what significant others around us do. And so as we build this sense of belonging around us in community, and then there's this social norm, this expectation that we are helping each other, that we are engaging in volunteer work to help improve our environment, whether that's picking up trash or cleaning up after our creek system floods and cleaning up debris and helping improve that stream system, maybe helping to compact dirt at the kids' bike jump park, things like that. And we work collectively on that. And then it's the social norm, this that we create the perception we're a community that cares about these issues. And then it's more likely, so what I mean by check-ins, that in future volunteer events, that your friends know you like to show up, you want to show up, and they'll reach out to you to see, hey, Roz, are you coming to this event that's happening? For example, tonight in my community, there's a seed swap, and I'll be going with many friends of mine to engage in that seed swap. And there's a potluck where we're all going to sit and eat together, and then we'll exchange seeds to grow in our gardens for the year. That's a sense of belonging, right? Where I'm sitting with others in my community, having conversations in person, and then we trade our seeds from our last garden year and our from our harvest, and we're able to then grow a more diverse and localized produce in our gardens the coming season. So it's just really incredible. That's just one example of the way that feeling connected to community can make people more aware of our responsibility towards each other and our environment. It's a win-win all around.
Yeah, and that's fascinating how social norm and regular check-in can within a community can reinforce a sense of shared responsibility. And I think the simple act like feeling seen and valued can make people more mindful of their action. They can think, oh, she is my friend, so maybe I can check her work, or just thinking about what can I help for her so she can do her work well. And yeah, that's such an important thing in our daily life, to get check in with people, and yeah, just um feel connected each other.
Yeah, and what you said is really extremely important, and it's something that I even did this morning. So I hadn't heard from a friend of mine in a couple days, and she lives by herself, and I just wanted to make sure everything was okay. So I sent a text and was just like, "Hey, I'm thinking of you. I haven't heard from you. Hope you're doing all right." And that just goes such a long ways. It took me just what 3 seconds to send that text over to her, but for her, I ended up seeing her in person this morning. And she said that meant a lot to her to just know that she was seen and she was valued as a person. And so those simple
Mm,
acts can really go a long way.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's true that people need to be appreciated, and it's okay sometimes to feel that we need to be connect. We don't have to be really independent at all. And
Yeah,
yeah, as
exactly.
we see, and yeah, as we see in our modern world, we often push toward individualism. Maybe perhaps because of the our modern technology, or the concept of self-reliance or independence or personal success. And I think while these values are important, they can sometimes make it harder for people feel a strong sense of community. What do you think are the main factors that causing individualism in today's world, and what is the impact on the sense of belonging today?
I feel like this is especially a problem in the United States where I live, but also all over the world. I grew up in Canada and similar pressures of this false uplifting of, oh, it's better to be independent. And so in academia, for example, it's all based around our independent successes, right? The promotion program at universities, if you publish a certain amount of articles, if you get a certain amount of grants, it's not looking at how well did you uplift your communities? How well did you work as a team member on your projects? And what empathy did you have for the people around you? It's all based on individual success. And that's really unfortunate because it creates this sense of isolation to the
Yeah.
point that I was just thinking about this statistically and pulled a couple numbers. So, just a couple of years back, the most recent data I could find in 2021 to 2022, 23% of adults in America experienced mental illness in the last
Mm,
in that year, and that's the same as 60 million people. And over 5% of the U.S. adult population, or 12 over 12 million people, reported serious experiencing serious thoughts of suicide. And so this whole
wow.
independence is creating depression, increased likelihood of suicide rates, and it's a false message. And it's all interwoven with this broader problem of capitalism that is the current global dominating paradigm. And with capitalism, that what is a sense of pride comes from that independent gaining of wealth. But if we look at the wealthiest in the world, we can really question, how is their overall well-being? Are they actually happy? Do they have a good network of people that care about them, a great community? I don't think I want to be that wealthy and have that
Mhm.
amount of isolation and just a focus in my life around financials instead of community. And so there is a problem with this in our capitalist systems, and
Mhm.
even to the point that our upbringing in education is all based on this model called the Cartesian model, or Cartesian separatism, which means that we're taught from a very young age, at least many of us in the Western world, developed world, as many refer to it, we are taught that we are separate from nature, we're separate from other. And what we know from living our lives is that's actually not true at all. We're affected by bad pollution days that comes into our lungs and affects the way we feel. There's extremely higher rates of depression and suicide when we have what's called a red air day, which means we have high pollution matter in our air, particulate matter from the pollution that we put into the environment, especially from combustion of fossil fuels. And so there's a direct connection of nature to how we feel inside of ourselves. And of course, with human beings as well. All of us have walked into the room where someone is extremely mad, like they have a sense of rage. Before you even talk to that person, you can feel that. You feel their energy and you know something's off. That is that interconnectedness that is not taught to us in this capitalist system that we have been raised in. And so many people are awaking to the fact that we need to see beyond capitalism and get towards a model of a steady state economy or degrowth, even where we are drawing down our emissions intentionally and not focusing so much on growth, which is what capitalism bases itself on. So yeah, it's a huge issue, and I'm hopeful in this because I do see a broad awakening happening across the globe of people questioning whether money really equates with success in life.
Yeah, I think your answer is related to the commencement speech that I want to do. So in my commencement speech, I provide them with a question. So after the graduation, what would you like to do next? So in this question, I try to share my story about how I built my community, including how I meet you through just because I dream about Utah and I can meet you. And I think the success of this community and podcast is because people around me, not just because of me. So I think that is really important awakening and message that even though we want to achieve our goals, we still need people. We still need something that around us. So I think the feeling of separation is maybe a very harmful for us because it can leads to mental illness and yeah such a they have such a bad impact. So rather than now thinking about what I want to do next, so let's think about what we can do to our environment and what we can do to people around us with maybe our studying or our work or our job in the next chapter. So that's the main point of my commencement speech, and that's relate to really relate to your answer. And yeah, I'm so happy that uh, hear your insightful answer.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, I love to, if it's recorded, I'd love to hear your speech. That would be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And do you think there is a link between rising individualism and environmental crisis we face today? Because we can see that climate change and then air pollution and a lot of environmental problem happen today. Do you think that there is a like correlation between them, individualism and environmental crisis?
Definitely. When we don't see the connectedness of our actions to the broader environment around us, we're less likely to care, right? Whereas I know every time I choose to drive a fossil fuel vehicle, I'm emitting carbon monoxide, harmful chemicals like that into the air. And that is affecting everyone around me. And so I'm much more likely to choose to bike as my mode of transit because I know the consequences of my actions. Of course, there's certain days where I do drive my car and if it's extremely cold or icy or something, but it is a conscious thing where I understand those interconnected relationships. Whereas this whole individualism, sense of isolation that capitalism breeds, intentionally creates a distance from the consequences of our actions. And although I don't want people to feel bad all the time for engaging in behaviors that are part of the current systems we live within, we don't want to feel guilty nonstop by any means, but we can be a lot more intentional around decreasing some of the impacts that we have and also uplifting at the same time our community and environment. And so instead of feeling like, oh, I shouldn't even exist because I'm just polluting the earth, I don't want to share that message. That's not a path forward to inspire anyone. And I don't want to take that path forward. But instead, we could think, how can I live today to my best potential? How could I best uplift my environment around me, knowing that I live within a destructive system, but can still be a positive influencer for change? And also, how can I uplift my community? And so reaching out to friends, reaching out to neighbors and just saying hi or asking how they're doing and actually actively listening to their response and providing uh, an unbiased, open-ended response to what they have to say instead of judging so quickly. And so that's an example. And yeah, it's that individualism is really directly correlated to the accelerating problems that we have in today's world.
Yeah, I'm really agree with you that yeah, today's world individualism can leads to a climate crisis because yes, maybe in our um early years I heard maybe a story from my parents. They tend to be like gathering and play together, but in our words maybe uh children or teenager tend to be alone and playing game, and yeah, just turn on the AC because the the weather is very hot, and yeah, and that is so challenging for us. But maybe we can thinking about our best potential to influence other and try to campaign the good message, not just judging people, because yeah, maybe we got the impact of how the capitalism say, and yeah, we just need to feel connected. By feeling connected, we can discuss, not giving a judgment that can make this more separation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we've
Yeah.
talked
I
about
think about,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I was just going
yeah.
to say a quote that comes to mind often. It's from a book that I found was pretty incredible called Seeds of Change. And in that book, it there's an interview with a gardener who so they grow an amazing garden of different fruits and vegetables, and when asked like how do you fight the system, like the system being capitalism and all the pressures to grow and get finances, and this woman said, I'm not working to fight the system. My work makes the system irrelevant. And I love that concept of what can we do with our community as a collective whole to make the system irrelevant. So, and that's never fully possible, of course. We still have financial exchange and things within capitalism, but we can increase our self-sufficiency as a community by collectively growing our own food, by creating things like women's circles to support each other and uplift each other as community. And then this whole broader noise happening around us can be turned down. And so it's something I think about often. How can I behave in ways that make the system more irrelevant? Because the capitalist system is broken and it needs to change.
Yeah, that's a powerful message, I think. And while we've talked about why the belonging is important and some challenge we face, let's move into what are some practice way to build the sense of belonging. Do you have some practice way to build the sense of belonging so people can feel more responsible for each other and environment?
Yeah, there's a couple things that come to mind. I mentioned reaching out to friends and neighbors. So here's an
Mm-hmm.
example. Yesterday, I was at work in my office up on the campus at Utah State on the Moab campus, and I got a call from, so we have in Moab, I'm not sure how it works in other countries, but um, at least here we have people come into the community and help trim trees that are growing over power lines and things, and they mulch the branches. So they create wood mulch, which is very great for building soil health. And many of these people come in from outside of Moab to do the work and then they leave. So they don't know where to dump the mulch. And oftentimes they'll bring it to the landfill. So I went to one of these trucks and I just knocked on the window and said, hey, do you have a place where you have in mind to dump the mulch? And they were like, well, we have a couple locations, but we'd take your name on the list. And so we got a free mulch delivery of a big truckload of wood mulch to our community in a communal space that we all own together here in Moab. And I wasn't home when they texted me to say they were coming over to drop the mulch. And I was like, uh-oh, what do I do? Now, if I lived my life in isolation and had extreme independence, I would have no one to reach out to, right? But I
Mm-hmm.
know many of my neighbors, and I texted three neighbors, and instantly two of them came out to meet the truck and have them dump the mulch in the space for me because I wasn't
Mm-hmm.
home. And so that is what I mean. Every day there's things that happen with my neighbors and my friends where we're helping each other out. And it just creates this huge sense of belonging and self-worth for
Mm-hmm.
me. It's like I wasn't home, but I knew it would be taken care of because I have a community. And so that's one example. Another that I've mentioned in the past is uh, during the pandemic, I knew everyone was experiencing such depression and isolation. So we held an outdoor women's circle where we uplifted each other through pieces of paper that each of us got a stack of paper, and we wrote something positive that we either observed about the person each person in the circle, or if we knew them, something positive we knew about them. And then everyone went home. We didn't read them out loud, but everyone went home with a stack of paper of all these incredible things that our friends said about us. And that was an intentional thing, a space that I held to bring people together. I was just up in Logan, and because I used to live there in northern Utah, I was invited to a sweat lodge, and that's another amazing way to have community. We went into a sweat together for over an hour, and then we came out of that and we ate a meal together, and it was a potluck. So we all brought a dish for the meal, and we sat at the table together. And at the beginning of the night, there were three women that I didn't know. And by the end of the night, I knew them. And now, if I recognized them, if I was up there again, it's about 6 hours north of me, I would say hello. And that grows my community, right? Because we shared that space together. There's other things we could do intentionally. If you don't have an outdoor space to hold a gathering, you could have an indoor game night. You could have board games or and provide food, or just make one dish and have everyone bring a dish and then come together to play games together. And other things that come to mind are like borrowing and lending tools to others. So I think I know that with our capitalist system, we're taught that it's a weakness to reach out for help. And I think that's a real shame. Since I've had kids, especially, I reach out for help so often, and I reach out to help others. And I take a sense of pride when people ask me if I could help pick up their kids or something after school because they're tied up at work or something's come up. And so we have this whole network of us as parents that help each other out when we need help at school pickup or bringing our kids to soccer or whichever it is. And I would feel so lonely without that. But unfortunately, so many people are scared to ask for help because they don't want to burden others. But
Mm-hmm.
if we think about it for a minute, think about when someone asks you for help. Nikita, can I get a hand possibly today? I have to move a couch and it's too heavy for me to lift. You feel good inside that that person asked you to help them. And
Yeah.
that's a sense of belonging and that pride. And we need to stop feeling bad about asking for help and knowing that that's a part of us living our lives is sometimes we need help from others, and that helps grow our belonging.
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually have an experiment that I it just a couple days ago. So it is the time near to my commencement, and I should prepare for the makeup. And I have discussion with my parents that we should go to makeup artist. But when I saw the price, I think that is so expensive. So I decided to learn makeup by myself. So I go to makeup store, and at that time I really confused what kind of makeup maybe suitable for me, because I never learned makeup. And there are some
Mhm.
there a woman, she is, I think she is very friendly woman, and I approached her, and I shared her what kind of makeup design that I want. So she really helped me to see my face and what kind of makeup suitable for me. So it's, I think it took a long time, and she really helpful for me. And after that, she asked me a question: do you mind if I helped you to make up you in your commencement and teach you how to make up? Oh, I feel really grateful for that. So, I think because I asked her like a teacher, and I maybe appreciate her, and yeah, just do that, and then she want to help me. So when we ask people for help, I think people will feel more valued inside. So I really agree that when we ask someone, it will not harm or something or happen something bad, but the good thing happened to them, and that's how incredible this word actually.
That's a great
Because
example. Yeah.
mhm, because the world teach us about the independence, but actually sometimes be dependence, not just not clinging, but be helpful and asking for help is something incredible, and that actually the how the word works. We connect it to people, we connect to nature, and we connect each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really strong example that you just shared.
Mhm. Yeah, I think Utah is a great example of community initiative. And could you share some example, specific example or of initiative or project that Utah have successfully brought people together while promoting sustainability?
Yeah, there we have a long way to go because we're still within this capitalist framework, of course, but there are some
Mm-hmm.
inspiring things happening at the state
Mm-hmm.
and also the local level. So one thing, the thing about the state level is the Great Salt Lake Farmers Market, for example. Over 20,000 people come on a Saturday to that market
Mm-hmm.
in the summer, and it's one of the most successful farmers markets in the country. And so that farmers markets are just an incredible thing that bring community together. You have farmers there selling their produce, you talk to the farmer, you buy directly from the farmer, and it's such a social event. When we asked customers to farmers markets this last year, we conducted statewide data collection of why do people come to farmers markets, and one of the top reasons was to socialize. Of course, a good reason is to buy fresh produce, but one of the number one reasons was people just wanted to talk to other people and have that community. And so farmers markets are a great example, and they happen all across our state. We have over 45 farmers markets in the state of Utah. And so that's an example. Another thing at the state level is we have initiatives to save the Great Salt Lake. So the Great Salt Lake is drying out because of our unchecked development, that as we continue to grow and develop, we keep drawing more water. And with climate change, there's already less water going into the lake. So it's a huge problem, the desiccation of the Great Salt Lake. But there's initiatives that bring people together from across the state to work on saving the lake, and things like the Friends of the Great Salt Lake initiative and others like that, that bring people together to collectively work to protect our environment. And at the local level, there's some great initiatives happening. So I mentioned tonight I'm going to a seed swap in my community. Those happen across the state, and they're a great way for people to come together, trade seeds, and not have to depend on buying seeds as much from outside corporations that have seeds that might not be adapted to our high desert ecosystem in Utah. So seed swaps are fantastic. I'm excited for ours tonight. At the local level, we have a space that brings together people to share a meal every other week in the summer, and they pull weeds in this communal space called Youth Garden Project. And it's an organic farm that teaches youth about organic farming. Every kid in our school system goes to that farm and interacts with it. And they're called weed and feed events in the summer. And so every other Wednesday, you go and weed for an hour, and then you eat a collective meal as a community with a chef that comes and cooks with garden produce. And that's incredible. And there's also things like Moab Trail Mix organizes events like, for example, we have coming up a Moab Spring Spruce Up. And that means that we go to a site and we help clean up that site, weekend of service and spring cleaning for the trails, trailheads, and other areas around Moab. And so we work together in those cleanups. Last year, I met a new family there where we were just weeding together at the high school here in town. And I grew my network through that event and felt good about going and helping clean up the school grounds and pulling some of the weeds and pulling litter and just making it look nicer there at the high school. So those are just a couple examples, but any of us could hold that intentional space to help bring people together and grow that sense of belonging. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a wonderful example about seat swap and yeah, a lot of things. And it's a beautiful example of how belonging can translate into yeah, meaningful action. Even though just a small action can give a big impact to other people. They can feel valued or feel the sense of abundance and gratitude because there are someone that really care about them. And I think this discussion is very meaningful discussion today, Miss Roslyn. And thank you for sharing insight about why belonging matters because that's really matters.
Yeah, thanks for holding this space, Nikita. It's an important topic, and I'm glad to have shared what I know.
And do you have any message that you want to say to your uh to our audience?
Yeah, you might feel intimidated doing something like holding a women's circle or a clothing swap or a potluck to start, but I challenge everyone to right as soon as you're done watching this webinar, pick up your phone, send a text to someone that you care about, and just say you're thinking of them and ask how they're doing. That's a great first step to building belonging, and it just takes a few seconds. So that's my challenge for all of you listening to pick up your phone, write someone that you care about, and check in on them.
Mm-hmm. That's amazing, Miss Roslyn. And to our audience, I want to say thank you so much. Um, without you and without yeah the sense of belonging between us, I think I cannot do this podcast, and this is so beautiful for me. So I want to say thank you so much, and thank you also, Miss Roslyn, for coming here. It has been a pleasure for me, and I'm so happy to meet you again here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thank
so
you, Nikita.
much.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, and for Sobat Kokamuhi, stay tuned with the next episode and see you next time. Bye bye.